Welcome traders to our post-week market review. So keeping things short and sweet here. If you remember from our last video, which was our midweek technical analysis, we established that price was consolidating in a bearish fashion, with price creating lower highs and lower lows, lower highs and lower lows, until price ended up sort of moving sideways with a common support area at around this level at 3,375. As you can see, price ended up breaking structure of this level, and then we saw gold retest this same support as a resistance, indicating to us that we were going to see gold continue on this bearish path. And as you can see, we in fact saw that. Price ended up coming down towards this level here at around 3,345. We tested this area twice before price then injected a considerable amount of bullish volume with the help of some economic news on the Friday at New York session open, and then price ended up wiping out just in one candlestick all this previous data. Price has then sort of moved sideways. If I go ahead and go down to our lower time frames, you can see that price has finished in a consolidating fashion. So there's a couple scenarios that we could expect to see for gold next week, but let's go over sort of the first day or two, marking up our minute 15. So there's a couple levels that I want us to take into account, and one of these levels is right here. I'm going to go ahead and mark this in white just so we can see it a little bit clearer. So as you can see, this is where gold is at right now. We can see that price has tested this same level as a support multiple times, meaning that we want to take into this level as a consideration, or a pivotal point for gold at the along with this same resistance point here. So you can see that we have a common resistance and a common support. So there's a couple scenarios that we could expect for gold going into next week. As you can see, the way that gold finished is as if it tested this previous level of support the same way as it did here and here, and we could most likely see price come up to test that resistance. If we see price break this level here, this point of interest, and clear these two previous highs, we will most likely expect price to continue on bullish, eventually targeting somewhere closer to that 3,400 level. However, if you take a closer look at the lower time frames, let's go all the way down to minute 5, and we will go ahead and delete these drawings now. You can see that there is a point in which price is creating lower lows and lower highs. For example, if I drag a trend line in here and dragging it from the wick to the wick without crossing through the body of any candlesticks, you can see that price is doing the same sort of thing as we marked up here. So creating a lower high followed by a lower low, lower high, lower low, so on and so forth. We're seeing the same sort of thing, but obviously on the lower time frames and in a lot smaller fashion. So there's another scenario that we could potentially see. So obviously this was the first high created, and then we created the next lower high, and then the next lower high, which is where we've just finished. This is the first lower low, and then we created a lower low. I know it doesn't seem like it is from the naked eye, but if I go ahead and mark in a quick trend line, you can see at the bottom of this body and to the left, you can see that price has in fact created an official lower low in terms of the body of the candlestick. Obviously the bottom side wick was not reached again, so what we will confer or will conclude this as is a double bottom, where price is tested within the same sort of area twice. So that's another indication that we might not actually see this pattern continue. However, it's definitely a possibility. So marking this in from our first higher high, so we had our higher high followed by our lower low, our lower high, our lower low or equal low, and then our next lower high. So if we are to continue in this same pattern and in this same respect, we're most likely going to see price come down to either test this level or continue that pattern and test somewhere around this area here. So I believe that's the both scenarios that we could potentially see. Another scenario that we could see is instead of price coming to this resistance and then breaking through and continue on bullish, we could see price come to this level and then continue on bearish from there, sort of giving a fake out in terms of this current pattern that we can see. So Another possible scenario is we see sort of price come back down to this level here, test it as a support once again, as again the same sort of thing as we saw in this consolidation here, where we saw a common support level found. As you can see, we most likely we could definitely see price sort of begin to test this level around 3,365 as a consistent level of support, and then bounce off after it has gained the momentum that it needs to then go closer to that 3,400 level. So if we see price continue on bullish, if I go ahead and drag this trend line down further, so what we're expecting to see for gold this week is a touch of that 3,400 level. Why do I say that? I say that because if you go to the higher time frames, let's go to our 4-hour real quick and zoom in, you can see that price has been considerably bearish for a while now, sort of since the 16th of June. So again, since last week, we have seen bullish momentum. And if you have a look where price currently is as of right now, if I sort of mark it in from this level, you can see that we have tested this level multiple times as both support and resistance, and it is definitely a pivoting point for gold, and we are currently testing at that level. However, we have seen a week of bearish momentum, so the most possible or the most likely scenario as of right now is going to be a bullish one. So going back to hour one and looking at it from the higher time frames, what we're going to go ahead and give as the most probable move as of right now is a bullish one. We might see some slight bearish retracements before price gains that momentum and volatility that's needed for price to then push up and above that 3,400 point of interest. However, we do expect that price will continue bullish and touch close enough to that area of 3,400. So the area that we're talking about is roughly here. What I'll go ahead and do this week is I will leave this in here, this arrow in, and then we can come back on our Monday once the day has sort of finished or the volatility and volume has slowed down. We can reevaluate and go over the next possible scenario. So that's what we're going to leave in place, concluding our post-week market review. Gold has been extremely bearish this week. We've had some consolidating areas and we've also had some bullish retracements. However, price is at the depths right now of this consolidation area, testing previous support as a resistance, and we are waiting to see if price can break through that resistance, clearing through previous highs and then continuing on bullish. So that's going to be our post-week market review. I hope you have all enjoyed. Remember, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.